Hi, everybody. This is just a short presentation to provide some guidelines about assignment 4, which is writing a media release. Normally, I wouldn't do this sort of thing because most of the information would be conveyed in either lectures or seminars. But because there's such a tight turnaround between assignments 3 and assignment 4, I thought this might be useful. And because again, our learning and teaching has been a little bit disrupted through having to transfer everything online pretty quickly. So I hope this will be helpful to you. All the information that I'm presenting here is available via Milo. So you have all the resources already, but I just hope this will give a little bit more guidance to you. So where you find the relevant information, you'll see Assessment Resources tab in Milo. I think it's in the content pages there. And then you will find there are tabs down the left hand side, and then you'll find the one for Assessment Task 4, Media Release, and this information here. So you'll see those categories: a scientific paper, annual report. You'll have the marking criteria and the guidelines and an example. So what you need to do in this assignment is to choose one of those two top documents on which to base your media release, either the scientific paper or the annual report. A scientific paper is a lot shorter. It's a two-page document. It's an interesting example because it's actually an article that's written in a specialist magazine but based on research that was already published in an academic journal. So you really need to be mindful of where attribution lies when you're actually making the press release or when you're constructing the press release, because there are various voices going on in this one, and you need to make sure that the voice that you're making the press release from, and we'll talk a little bit in a minute about its originating institution, needs to be the accurate one, because you've also got these intermediary voices of the people who wrote this story here that you can see. So this is for you to work out, but you do need to be careful about how the material is attributed. And the other one is the annual report, which is from the Red Cross. It's a 2016 report, but you can use 2016 date because this is just an academic exercise, or you can update it if you want to in terms of the date. I wouldn't worry too much about that. But it's a big, long report. It's 60 pages long. I'm not asking you to read the whole thing, but you need to skim through bits of it to find the interesting thing that could be a news story, something that you can base your media release on. And then we have the guidelines. Again, this is in Milo, but I just thought we could go through it. So you choose either the scientific paper or the Red Cross annual report. And what you need to do, so you need to engage with the skills that you've already learned so far about writing introductions, writing headlines, developing paragraphs and developing ideas. So once you've identified which example you want to use, then you need to think about what is the news angle within that information. Okay, remember what a news angle is. And it's not, in this case, a scientific paper has been released. That's not an angle in itself. That's just a scientific paper has been released. It needs to be something within the content of that article. As I noted to my seminar groups today, this article is also about research into motor neuron disease, and I know that we've just been discussing that with Dr. Lisa Gershwin, and I apologize for that. I didn't realize when I formulated this class and when I spoke to Lisa first about what she was going to talk about, I didn't realize that there would be this weird fixation on motor neuron disease and neurological disorders and the research into them, but that's just the way it goes. But so you need to find the news angle within the information there, and then distill that complex information into a strong single narrative. So both of these documents that you have as the source documents are quite big and quite sprawling and quite technical, and not there to be newsworthy per se. So you need to make them newsworthy through constructing the strong narrative. If you can have quotes to produce the quotes if you need to, or find the quotes. You know, if you have a voice that is speaking within the document and you can turn that into a quote, I think that's okay. You know, try not to be too liberal with that sort of stuff, but you know, I think a little bit of license is all right, and you'll get a feeling for that. And add the organisation's information and the contact details, and you might need to find it yourself, and we'll give you a little bit of guidance to that. So for the scientific paper, um, your originating institution is the California Institute of Technology. Okay, you can go into the details in the document that you're given and find the author of the paper that they're talking about and go and search for that paper, and then you'll find a bit of a trail there. So there's a little bit of research required, but yeah, make sure you're looking at California Institute of Technology, and there are other organizations that are named and listed in the process of constructing that story that you're working on. But again, like the attribution, make sure that you get that right. And then for the Red Cross report, you've got to choose a single story from within the many stories that are there in the annual report. And note that the annual report itself is not subject of a media release. So saying if your introduction was the Red Cross released their annual report today, I mean that's not newsworthy. Here's just two examples, that are similar to the ones that you'll use that I just found today. So this is an article that I've been reading recently about some work that I'm doing. Excuse me. And it's about health literacy in the media. And this is some research that I'm working on. So I was just looking at this, and I was thinking if I was doing that exercise or doing an exercise similar to yours, and thinking, where can I find a story within, for the mainstream news or for a mainstream audience, a media release from this article, and then I found this passage at the end of the abstract. From an ethical standpoint, equity is emphasized, stressing the importance of accessible media environments for all, including those at risk from exclusion from digital media sources. Alignment of micro and macro contextual spheres will ultimately facilitate both non-digital and digital media to effectively support and promote public health. So what's that basically saying is that, media channels and media platforms and formats are really important to facilitate public health, because the media is a very important vehicle for health information, but there needs to be equality in people's access to this. So people from all backgrounds, all socioeconomic backgrounds, and all regions and all that sort of thing need access to the availability of media so they can access media literacy, and that's an important thing. So in doing that, there might be regions that aren't supported by Wi-Fi or other forms of digital carriage, or people can't afford computers or can't afford phones or whatever. So that would be a news angle that you could tease out of that. Media literacy is improving all the time, or the provision of and the development of and research into media literacy is improving all the time. But what is holding society back from achieving objectives within health literacy might be socioeconomic difference, and this is manifest in availability of technology and that sort of thing. So that's a really good news angle that could be brought out of reasonably dense academic material, as an example. And that's similar to the scientific paper example that you have in this assignment. The other one is from the BHP annual report, which BHP is a big mining company, and this report's even bigger than the Red Cross one. It's several hundred pages long. It's really, really huge. And I just found this little story on page 21, and it's about corporate social responsibility of BHP. And remember, when you're writing a media release, you're advocating for the position of the originating institution. It's not like you're writing a news story about it. You're writing a media release of which a news story might come. So don't feel that your role is to advocate It's not to be critical, or it's not to find an objective voice. It's there to advocate. So here's the example that I have here: social investment from PHP. Are giving several $1 million, a part of their pre-tax profit. Our target is to invest no less than 1% of our pre-tax profit to contribute to improved quality of life in communities where we operate and support achievements of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Okay, so and then it lists some of the work that they do. So that would be a reasonably typical media release that would come from a report like this. Again, you don't need to think about critique this, or you don't need to find another voice that might oppose this. All you are doing in the media release is advocating for it. Okay, that's the end of the little slides. How you write media releases, we've tackled in seminars today and on Thursday with Bill. So you should be quite good at doing that, or you should at least be able to construct this. You'll also see on this page at the bottom there is another press release example, so you can have a look at that and see what it looks like. But also this week's lecture also gave you plenty of examples of how media releases might look like. So, and they're pretty easy to find. You can find them all over the internet. So look at how organizations construct their media releases and replicate that in your own one. Send me an email or something like or we could also have a Zoom conversation if you have any significant issues or problems with this, but it should be a reasonably straightforward exercise. Okay, thanks very much, and I will